Hey guys, this is Brett Young, Taylor Young, and Rod Erb, and you're tuned in to the Be Extraordinary podcast with Erb and Young. Real conversations about business, leadership, and personal development.
Guys, welcome to another episode of the Be Extraordinary podcast, joined by my business partner, Rodney Erb, and special guest and team member extraordinaire, Gian Silva, personal line senior agent and producer that's been in the game, in the insurance game for what, 6 years total?
6 or 7, somewhere around there.
I think you're coming in on your 7th year, and we'll talk a little bit about your background, but I kind of wanted to just frame this up of what the listener may get out of this and what we hope they get out of this, because bottom line is you're doing some extraordinary things. Things have shifted in your processes, in your the way you go about your opportunities and your marketing and your conversions, and but things have changed your results. Let's call it like it is. You're beating the brakes off of this fiscal year. The last 4 or 5 months specifically, your business has gone from good to great as far as the leading indicators within it that would lead to building a heck of a year, a banner year within our walls in the personal lines production side.
Well, I call it what it is. We've never seen it before. I mean, we've never seen this level of production. We've never seen this level of activity. And I think I want to add to that statement. I think as all those markers Tay mentioned, I think the number one driver is belief. It'll be fun to get in and unpack that. Certainly welcome to the show, man. Pumped to have you.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. So give you a glimpse, man. Obviously, your position, a big part of it's marketing, right? It's relationships within the mortgage and real estate space, meeting good quality partners, taking care of those partners, the introduction to homes that customers are buying they need help with. That's kind of the top of the funnel lead where you get started with the customer.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So just to give context to that, a lot of your efforts are building those realtor and mortgage relationships on the front end, and then taking really, really good care of people, and then asking for the opportunity to do all their business, their home, their auto, their flood, their golf cart, etc.
Oh, yeah.
And I know those conversions really take some salesmanship, right?
Absolutely.
There's marketing to the referral partner, and then there is salesmanship within your process and your language, man. Yep. So what's shifted? So what takes Gian Silva from in our walls, a first-tier performer, which is good, where you're writing, 30 new business policies a month, averaging just a few autos, which autos within our ecosystem are a high priority, but just a few autos a month. You're getting the production, you're getting the premium, but you're not necessarily getting the conversions. If I may say, a little bit frustrated, that it's not happening quicker, right? To all of a sudden blowing the doors off, to hitting not only the premium volume, but the policy count volume, the auto volume, the marketing activities. What's changed, man?
So a big thing for me was, I fell into making excuses. I fell into listening to other people in other companies saying, oh, the market stinks. Everyone was making excuses because companies were closing. And I told myself I didn't want to do that. I said, there's people out there, these interest rates raised, and I, talk to mortgage brokers all the time, and there was still people producing at a high level. So I said, if they can do it, I can do it. So a big thing for me was, shifting my focus from negativity to positivity and finding a way. So if you sit here and think, oh, it's a bad market, it's hard, I can't do it, then that's what you're going to do. You're not going to hit those numbers. So a big thing for me was really changing my mindset. I had to recalibrate. I remember me and Rod had a really nice conversation where he didn't say much. It was just me talking to myself, figuring out what was going on. And I wrote, a lot of homes, and I knew how to do that. But the auto, I took myself back to where I started with State Farm selling autos. And I was like, man, I've done it before. So I just need to stop being negative and find a way.
Take us, let's pause on that, because I know there's a lot more to that. Mm-hmm. But take us back, if you don't mind, to those early days. Why insurance? Why State Farm? And ultimately, how'd you get here?
Okay. So I started in sales. I was doing, that's where I learned that part. I was working at Hilton Grand Vacation selling vacation packages, and I did all right at that. But I realized, eventually there's nobody there that was there for a long time. So I was like, I want to be in an industry where I can grow, be in there for a long time. And my brother-in-law, he was doing mortgages, doing great. And I was like, man, let me try that. if I don't know what I want to do, let me follow somebody that's doing, something awesome. So, I took the mortgage course, and me being the social person I am, I was talking to the lady that sat next to me, who happened to be Maria Acosta. And she was opening up a State Farm office. She hadn't opened yet. And, me and her talked, and she was like, if this doesn't work out, let me know. So I took the test 3 times, failed it, and realized... The mortgage test.
Yeah.
I took the mortgage test 3 times and realized, this might not be for me. So I shot her an email, and I called her. I'm like, hey, Maria, remember me from the mortgage class? So she brought me in. I had no experience. I literally started out just answering the phone, not even doing anything. And then eventually, I started learning how to sell insurance. I learned about the insurance industry, and I mostly did auto there. And, I had a great career there. And then I met you guys. My brother-in-law, once again, he was working with you guys, and I couldn't really do a lot of home at State Farm because that wasn't their market at the time. So Nick he introduced me to I think you, Taylor, right? And he was just saying how great, Urban Young was and everything. I was like, yeah, let me see what this is about. And I remember I met you, and I was like, man, I got to go there.
That's Nick Vargas with Apley.
Shout out.
Shout out to Nick and Apley.
Nick and Joe, I should say.
Nick and Joe, that's right.
Yeah. So
and then fast forward, you popped into commercial lines.
Yep.
Well, I think what's interesting there is I'm hearing some of this stuff, and I'm reminded that you were conditioned in your early career to write autos. You didn't have the opportunity to write home. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting how, and yes, then your timeline led you here. You sat in on the commercial side for a while. I don't think that really ever jazzed you or excited you. I think you were, because it was new to you, right? It was a totally different monster than what you were used to on the personal line side or the State Farm side. Yep. But then you come back after leaving. You left us, but come back to us, and I mean, we all talk all the time. We're so glad you decided to come back. But that being said, I think you found your groove, and you found, I mean, you seem extremely fired up about what you do and why you do it. I think for me, I watch you now and hearing about the State Farm days and knowing you're a car guy, you like cars. I mean, it's easy, and you've got a huge following of people that you have met and keep in touch with and really have a reach with inside of social media. So I just feel like the planets that might not have been necessarily in alignment, including State Farm, and then including your first kind of go around with Urban Young on the commercial side, and then to come back now being a senior agent, I just feel like a lot of stars kind of lined up.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to talk about the past. So, I know I was in commercial and service, and I never told you guys, and I wish I did one day, was that, I wanted to go into the personal line side. I just never brought it up to you guys, and one day, I didn't think. I was just being irrational. I left, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to try something new myself. And I left, I went to another agency. I did well. I wasn't extraordinary. I did well, but I wasn't happy. So that's why I feel like I never hit my full potential, because if you're not happy and you don't like who you're working alongside, and I shouldn't say I don't like, but your vision isn't aligned, you're not going to hit your full potential. And I remember all that I had here, and I was like, man, I need to get back over there. So I remember I stayed in touch with all of you. Yeah. And I'm really happy to be back.
Yeah, it was fun to follow along, your successes, because I think, that experience for what it was really allowed you to grow. I mean, it really allowed you to level up and get thrown into it and become a true professional and, realize what it takes to do volume at a scale. And I'm grateful for it. I'm sure you're grateful for it. You look at it now in hindsight. One thing that strikes me, you mentioned the belief part, right? It's well said. I mean, I think you can't skip over the fact that if you can't shift your belief and you can't shift your focus to what's available and the abundance and everything that you have right in front of you, what we're going to talk about tactically is not going to really move your needle much. So let's just pause there. But once you figured out that, hey, all these beliefs that I'm holding, some of them are BS, right? Let me get rid of the ones that no longer serve me, and let me look at other people in the industry. It's like, that's a perfect example. You have some mortgage people that go, interest rates are up and my business is crushed over, I'm looking for another industry. Then you have some mortgage brokers that interest rates are up, it's harder than it's ever been. but they're violently actionable and are still having a lot of success. Yep. May not be as easy as it once was.
So well said.
There's some differences, but there's enough stories
complete belief in what they're doing.
Sure.
And why they're doing it. It's just, and you said something earlier, and Tay, you just reminded me of it. We've talked about this being the hardest market we've ever seen. Okay, if we're being technical, that's fine. But I have always said, someone is going to figure this market out.
Right.
Let's be on that side of things. Like, we don't want to be kicking the walls going, oh my God, this is so hard. It's like, okay, it's just different. It's different. And yes, we have to navigate it and learn it, but so does everybody else.
Sure.
And it's easy to get stuck in the woe is me, the market sucks, the interest rates are high, I'm a mortgage guy, I got to find a new industry. I'm an insurance guy. The auto options are locking up as fast as we can. Commission cuts, appetite guidelines,
changing
rates,
comp plan,
you name it, right? Yeah. I mean, there's just there are those who can, and there are people who can, and there are people who find reasons we can't. And I know where we sit philosophically as an agency and an organization, and to me, it's fun to see people that share those belief systems that are like, listen, I'm going to pay attention to the masses because I want to kind of have a pulse on what's going on. But a good rule of thumb and a good piece of our history is whatever the masses do, we've done the opposite.
Yep.
We've done the opposite. We believe the opposite. We think the opposite. We are can-do people. And I just think about you. It's and you mentioned the comp plan, right? You mentioned the comp plan where we had to write homeowners because that's kind of our leading. That's what people lead with. That's our marketing strategy.
It's the biggest door into the house,
right? It's the biggest door into the house, right? Well, not really. The garage door is.
Oh, yeah, I guess
where we park the autos. But you think about how that had to shift, right? Commission cuts, rates. It got more. I don't want to say it got harder. It just got different, right? Yeah. So internally, we made some changes to the comp plan because we knew we needed to write more auto to take up for the fact that we were reducing our opportunity for revenue on the homeowner side.
We would have sold ourselves out of business if we just sold home.
We would have sold ourselves out of business. And I think about when you came in and you got rooted in that seat, you were a volume guy. You wrote a lot of volume, you had a following, and you could write homes, and you have a good following of referral partners that send you opportunities that get you that home opportunity. I remember specifically, and so in that we made some changes to the comp plan because we wanted to reward what we wanted repeated, which was auto movement, right? And by the way, that has been probably the best thing for our business and the best thing for our agents' business that we've ever done. But you went from a point where you were writing 40, 50, 60 units a month and no autos. And we have a President's Club here. We have a President's Club program where it's an individual achievement. It's your time as a sales professional inside these walls to be selfish. There's extra comp. There's extra opportunities. There's recognition. It is a prestigious club inside our walls, but the qualifier's autos. Mm-hmm. And I remember some of the friction. It's like, man, I'm out writing people. I'm writing more than people. I'm writing more volume than people. I'm writing more units than people. Yes, but what we want to write is autos. Yep. And we had some friction because of that. Yep. Talk to us about kind of that progression, instilling the belief system that you now share, because I remember that conversation vividly, and I'm proud of you for not needing anybody to tell you. It's like, here's the game. Understand what we want for you. We want you to be able to build a big business here. We want you to be able to build the same sort of things that we've been after. Yep. But talk to us about kind of coming from that mindset and morphing into where you sit now.
Yeah. So I remember President's Club when I was in a service role, and I was like, there's no way I'm missing it. I was like, I got to be there. But, as the days went on, you forget, I was just writing home and just going on with the daily thing. And then I think there was like 3 months left, and I was like, man, I'm pretty far off. And I remember having that conversation with you where I'm like, dude, I have to be there. So really,
well, and since you said it, pretty far off, Taylor, you referenced,
almost impossible.
The first tier, our first tier qualification is 5 autos a month. You were 30 plus autos away with 3 months left. Those numbers don't add up.
Yeah.
Like like our belief systems that were in place then would say, well, if I'm going to write 5 to 6 to 7 autos a month, I'm not going to make it.
Yep.
And you kind of unplugged all those cords and rewired those cords.
Yep.
And over the last 3 months, really 2.5 months, you wrote 36 autos
To close our fiscal year.
To close our fiscal year and qualify for President's Club. No one has ever been more on the outside looking in. Make a statement that you're going to be there, and we're looking at you going, do you see what's in front? Like, do you understand the numbers here? Like, that's cool and all to say that and believe that, but and then to do it at the level you've done it would be a fluke, but you've maintained it. Yeah. Now that has moved into October of the new fiscal year, month 1, month 2, month 3. So we've just closed out our first quarter in the new fiscal year, and I'll get to those in a second. But keep going there.
Yep.
Keep going.
So
what were the action steps that you can share that someone listening to this can benefit from, new or seasoned?
Yep. So what I did was I made that my main focus. Home obviously was on the focus, but the main one was auto. Every single person I talked to on the phone, what I would do was I would tell them, hey, who do you have for your auto? And while I had them on the phone, they're like, oh, I have, let's just say Geico for right now. So I looked up how to get the declaration pages on all these carriers. I just Googled how to get declaration page with Geico or whoever. So while I have them on the phone, or any person I have on the phone, I would walk them through the steps on how to send me the documents. Because if you ask someone to send you a document, just say, oh, hey, when you can, send me the declaration page. They're not going to send it because people are busy. Nobody has time for anything. So what I did was, while they're on the phone, it literally takes a few seconds. I'm like, hey, log into your app real quick. Without even asking them, I would just tell them, hey, who do you have for auto? Oh, I have Geico. Okay, go into the app real quick. They don't have no idea why I'm asking. Okay, I'm in the app. What am I looking at? Okay, go to policy documents. You'll see a little arrow. Just text me the declaration page. Let me take a look. Let me see if it makes sense to even move it. If it doesn't, we'll just reach out on the renewal and see what happens, And
so
make
you walk them through. You make it easy for them.
Yeah.
They're already there, and they go, oh, yeah, I'll send you the doc. I'm in my app.
And you're working on their home opportunity that you've been sent. So you've already built rapport.
Yep.
You've already kind of remarketed them on why Urban Young, on why Geon, and then why Urban Young.
Yep.
So the marketing is happening, and then the shift happens because you've got credibility and trust based on whoever referred them here for the home closing.
Yep.
You're just furthering that, asserting yourself through earning the right through building rapport to just have a little bit more pointed conversation.
Yep.
To where you aren't. I'm not getting off the phone without having this conversation.
Yep. So, and if someone's busy, like if I can literally hear they're at work or something, I'm like, hey, let's jump on a call when you're free, or, shoot me a text. Let me know when you're available, and then I'll give them a call, and then I'll go into it at that point. Or even sometimes where I haven't got the home. Sometimes I've got in the auto because it just made sense to move it. But every conversation I try to have is
10 out of 10?
10 out of 10 of what?
10 conversations out of 10 you're having you're
I'd
doing?
say pretty close. I mean, there's some people, not everybody's an ideal client, so, but most people.
Yep.
Yeah, that's also, so when you ask, and this clue kind of keeps showing up, right? There's this, I either have the belief you're either taking something off their plate or you're creating more work.
Yep.
And if you do it right away, if you do it over the phone, it takes a couple clips, you're walking through it, you do that extra little Google search. Like that extra Google search is such a little tip for people.
Yep.
Because that information's available to make it just a little bit easier on your customer to send you a deck page.
Yep.
All right. So that's going to be the difference that they may or may not send it to you.
Yep.
And if they send it to you, you're just further along in the sales process, right?
Yep.
And then you can get to the point, how would you set expectations from there? I got the decks page. I'm working on the home. Now I have the auto. Sometimes you can gauge whether you think you're going to be competitive by looking at a risk, looking at driver's age. You start to get that level of rhythm as an experienced producer. Mm-hmm. But what kind of expectation would you set or not set with the buyer, the home buyer, of what's going to come next from Geon?
Yep. So usually I tell them, hey, I'm going to go ahead and work on this. I usually I'll send out both quotes together.
Yep.
So, and even then I try to have a conversation with them beforehand, before I even send it. Because once you send them the quote, they're going to find they're going to try to take that and go online and find someone that's going to lower coverages or do things to get a $1 a month cheaper option.
Sure.
So I try to have those conversations with them, and then once I go over everything, I'm like, hey, do you want to go ahead and proceed? Because I don't want to have them or give them an opportunity to call someone else to do things to kind of you know,
Yep.
I don't want to
Well,
say
and-
be shady or anything,
Right,
but
but they can just take your quote, they shop it. Hey,
Correct.
Well,
Mr.
and
Agent,
you
can you
say
beat
shady.
this?
Let's call it what it is. It's
Yep.
salesmanship.
Yep.
Okay, salesmanship is a very noble and respectable skill.
Yeah.
Right. And I just say that there's nothing shady about it. I mean, what do you believe you have value? And every time I hear you talk, I hear you exuding the fact that I can help you. Let me be your solution. I want to be your trusted advisor.
Yep.
That's salesmanship. And it's like, I don't think people spend enough time on salesmanship and calling it what it is. I think I think the bias is, man, if I push them, I'm pushy. If
Yep.
I push them, I'm shady. If
Yep.
I push them, I'm slimy. No. I disagree. If you have an agenda that is centered around a win-win or something that's clearly valuable to them or a solution, you have to be able to articulate that.
Yep.
If you can, you are building your salesmanship skills.
Yep.
If you have a hard time articulating it, that's when it comes across shady or pushy or grimy. That's just an opportunity to work on a skill that you yet don't have, and it all rolls up to influence.
Yep.
Where it's a win-win. A win-loss is manipulation.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
We're not talking manipulation. We're talking about, I believe I'm your solution.
Yep.
Here's what's in it for you. What's in it for us?
Yep.
You? Well, we build our business. That's what we do.
Yep.
We're not afraid to say that.
Yep.
But win-wins, I think, is important when you start talking about influence. And salesmanship rolls up to influence. And
Yep.
I want to point that out.
But another thing I want to hit on, which I think is important, if you give somebody a quote, right? If you know that if you just blast an email to somebody and they're going to have your nuts and bolts quote with, by the way, no context,
Yep.
no understanding of what the coverage is, they're blind. They're looking at numbers on a page and they're looking at a bottom line price. And then they shotgun that out to a bunch of different agents. It depends on what problem you're solving because you're actually creating more work for them. You're going to create more confusion for them.
Yep.
And they may end up, if they go that route, buying a lesser product, may not get the better deal, and be in a worse position than when you started. So when you articulate win-win, is also a question like, what problem am I solving? Am I solving the fact that by working with me, their life should be easier, and because I'm gonna put them in a better spot, or am I solving the problem that is just bottom line price?
Yeah.
Did you just say that they're taking the quote, shotgunning it out? Can you beat me? Can you beat it? Can you beat it? Is that what you were meaning?
Well, I'm just saying what Gian is referencing is that he's experienced that if I just send him a quote without having a conversation first
Yes,
about it
okay.
and
That's
asking
where I
them
was
for
going.
their permission to move
Yes,
forward in the
yes.
process, I'm opening myself up as the agent to get shopped, and
Yes.
I'm giving the customer essentially the permission to say,
Amen.
take
That-
my
that's what
quote
I
and
thought
go
you were
shop.
getting at.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you look at that and you go, well, I don't want them to go find out what the other prices are. That's not it.
Yeah.
What it is like when you talk, when a customer talks to 3 different agents and they all use all different coverages and different replacement costs and all different deductibles, it's confusing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right? It's not good for the
Well,
customer.
and ultimately, what I was getting at, and I thought that's what you were saying, that's our fault. That is our fault.
Lack of sales professional.
Lack of sales,
Yep.
lack of salesmanship. Okay, this is my opinion. Potential customers want to be directed.
Yep.
Okay, they wouldn't make a financial decision without being directed from an accountant or a tax professional. They wouldn't make a legal decision without being advised first and directed by a lawyer or someone that knows the law. Insurance is no different. We have to realize that we have a standing of a trusted advisor. That's language you build into your salesmanship. In that light, potential customers want to be told what to do. Certainly there's tact, there's professionalism, there is a style, there is a method. But ultimately at a high level, Taylor, here's how this is going to go, and here's what I need you to do for me to help
Well,
me.
and especially after you've all the things you just referenced that are contextual, but you've asked really good questions along the way to understand what problem you are solving.
Yep.
And then once you understand what problem they're solving, and then you're what I would call setting that next expectation, that's where I feel like the clarity, the confidence, the posture starts to put the customer at ease.
Yep.
Because what Rod's saying is when they want to be directed, I just believe they want to be put at ease. That this
right.
person knows what they're talking about, they know what they're doing, and they have my best interests in mind. And I have a clear point of after the information that I've given of what is the next step. When they lack that clarity, they lack confidence, they lack trust, and a confused mind does nothing. And I think we are all guilty as rookie sales professionals, wherever we sit within that season, to thinking that it's the right thing to do to not be able to give that direction at some point in the sales cycle. Because you think like, well, I don't want to be pushy, or I don't want to, yeah, go shop it. Don't worry about it. No, like if you're confident in what you do and you've vetted the process, you should feel very comfortable about asking for the permission to move forward in the process.
I think my process, I think why it works so well is I really try to break it down to people how it, instead of overcomplicating it, I really make it very simple. So like when I go over coverages with them, a lot of times they don't have questions because I don't want to say dumb it down, but I explain it in like normal people terms instead of overcomplicating it. So a lot of times when customers are working with me, it's very, personable. It's like I'm a person just like you. I'm on the other line. I'm going to explain it to you where you're going to understand why you're buying this and what you're getting. So an example of that, like when I tell someone, on a homeowner's policy, dwelling covers the structure itself. Now, and before they even come up with, the loan amount's this amount, why am I insured for this amount? Right. I already have their rebuttal. I tell them, listen, I know the value is going to be different, and that's because in Florida, we don't insure the land itself. We just insure the structure. So that already takes away a lot of questions from the lender, from a lot of the thing. So I just try to break everything down into simple terms and just explain it to customers. And that's really worked really well for me.
So you say it's worked really well for you. I'm going to give a little context. So through one quarter, you're leading in units. So that is policies written. And I'm not talking by a little. I mean, you've got quite a lead in units. You've got quite a lead in autos. And you in volume, which is not a marker that we typically track, but it still is something that's fun to kind of know where you are. You're slightly in second place. Given all that, I'd love to know, what are you most excited about as we move into Q2?
Well, I set some personal goals, and I'm just working really hard toward that, and I get excited for that, to see my progression, and I'm like, man, it gets fun, I'm just having fun.
Yeah. Wow, that's a little bit of clue. And also, like, right, our mechanism internally, like, right, we don't market for auto. Right, you're getting referred home by relationships that you've cultivated, and then you're converting the auto without an ask for it. Right, so I think you're averaging right now 15 or 16 autos a month. You're averaging around 45 units a month. And that premium falls anywhere between 80 to 100,000 in premium. Right, it's a very rounded out quality volume situation that is very sustainable and very profitable, and something you can build a very, very good business on. But I wanted to go back to a little bit of the tactics. When you get to the point where you've made it simple, you've gotten the deck page, you have an option, what does that ask look like to move forward in the process? Do you send it to them and get back with them? Do you simply ask a question? Are you ready to take care of this right now, is what you mentioned? Like, give me an idea that you've vetted the prospect, you've engaged interest, you've simplified it, you've gone over enough. What happens now to be able to move them to action if it ends up being the decision that's best for them?
Yep. So every situation I found is different. So everybody has a different way of how they want to proceed. So some people, they just want, they want the quote, they want to talk about it with their spouse or whoever it is, and they want to call back. I pick up on that pretty quickly, and I ask, a lot of questions to see how they are, to find out about that customer, because you can't sell everybody the same, or you can't get everybody the same product the same way, because everybody, they buy things differently. Some people like to go to the store, try on a shirt, and they have to think about it, go home, and come back. Same thing with insurance. Some people want to go home, do their research, understand it. So I think it's just about the qualifying questions, or finding out their pain points, how they want to be sold or how they want to purchase it. So I find that out pretty quickly. And I ask them.
Yeah, how do you ask them? How do you ask
them? So I'll just tell them, oh, hey, once I get the declaration page and everything, I'm like, okay, if it's a big savings, I mean, I'm gonna try to do it right there on the call, because auto changes very fast. Rate today it might not be the same as tomorrow, or it might not even be eligible. So I explain that to them as well, and I let them make their decision. But a lot of times, I mean, with auto, it's a little different than home. Home, people it's a little bit of a slower process compared to auto. Auto, most people are open to shopping it and moving it if it makes sense financially. But it just depends on each person.
And I want you to weigh on this Rod, because we were looking at data yesterday. We're looking at the quarter, and you just mentioned the numbers. But get to the point where you're talking about, because the reason I give this context is like you, to me, from my perception, this may not be accurate, you went from somebody that every month was trying to qualify. Where do I find business? What DM, who can I reach out to that I know that I can do their auto insurance? Who, right? And look, the hustle, I respect it. Yep. But at some point, to be able to, because what kind of professionals are we looking like? Marketing and sales, you want to be in the game every month. Yeah. You want to be top tier of the comp plan with a consistency to it. Yep. There's less of an interest in our business to have big month, small month, big month, small month, yep. Dry spell, wet spell. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, which is so common.
Right? So yep. What we're talking about is consistent, excellence, sustainable, writing the right type of products. Mm-hmm. But you went from trying to qualify and scrapping and scraping and working really hard, working a lot of hours, going home, taking your laptop, working weekends, being frustrated, not getting the results I want, not making the money I want, to there's a process shift to go boom, month, 4 months yep. in a row where I'm top tier. So yep. What shifted in your business to allow you to do that? Are you working on more deals? Are you saying less to more people? Like, truly, are you managing your time different at your desk? How are you treating your days and weeks to be able to make that shift?
Yep. So there was a lot of things personally and also professionally. So I had to stop hanging out as much. I was spending a lot of time doing things that wasn't benefiting me. It wasn't bringing me, more. I had to stop wasting time doing things that didn't fulfill me, So
outside of work, distractions.
Yeah, I had a lot of distractions.
Just stuff that ate up your time.
Yeah, a lot of things that just ate up my time. And then honestly, it was just a big shift for me was I want everybody in the room to know what I'm doing. If I'm out somewhere at a restaurant or something, everybody knows I do insurance. Like, I literally, on my social media, my circle of friends, everybody knows I do insurance. I branded myself on social media, the insurance plug. So I feel like anytime someone sees my social media, they're like, insurance plug, that they know that this guy does some sort of insurance, So a big thing for me was just talking to more people, and just every single person that around me or that I come in contact with knows what I do. I was at Publix the other day, and the lady was like, oh, what do you do? Because I go in there every day to grab lunch, or very often. And I was like, oh, I do insurance. Here's my card. And I gave her my card. Just, I want everybody to know what I do. So a big shift for me was, talking to more people, really. I just talk to a lot of people. I set intentions as well. I do a lot of research to find out who in the industry can, not benefit me, but like, who can I help?
Who are the players?
Who can I work with to help them and they help me, I want to have their back the same way they have my back. I want to send referrals to people that are going to send me referrals, I want everybody to eat around me. So that was a big shift for me.
I love it, man. You hit on something, and I think you were kind of going in a certain direction too. You're working on more deals too, right? It's like, and I think ultimately inside of our ecosystem, that's one of the rally cries, right? It's like we've got good data now based on some investments we've made into software and tracking. You're living. You're knocking on the door of living in the third tier of our comp plan, which is the highest level. And I think what's interesting too about that, and I'll come back to the other, is you're still in build mode. People don't understand our business is so attractive because what you do in year one, it's not going to look, if you do the same thing in year two, it doesn't look the same, right? Yep. Because you have the benefit of the relationships you built in year one. So year one, those policies, those relationships stay, but you couple that with the same level of production. Now, instead of having that level of production, you have that level of production plus level of production. Yep. The next year, the third year, you've got the original year, the second year, and now the third year. So there's this ramp up and there's this compounding that happens in our industry, which why we still and always have believed it's the best kept secret industry there is. Yep. You're in build mode, right? You're still kind of on the cusp of experiencing what it feels like to have the efforts of year one hit you in year two. Yeah. So I think you're in for a real, I mean, I know what you're in for. You're in for a real surprise, but you say yes to, you say less to more people. You're working on more opportunities. Yep. That is, to me, the cheat code that we sidestep. Yeah. Yep. We forget that. We get an opportunity, and why is that opportunity so coveted? Well, because I don't have one behind it. Yep. Okay? I strangle it. And then when I don't have more behind it, now I get a little desperate.
Yep.
Now I get a little pushy. Now I get goosebumps because that's sales. It's not our industry. It doesn't matter the industry. But when you're scarce on opportunities, you covet that opportunity way more. Yeah. Versus when you have opportunities piling up, which, by the way, to Taylor's point, this is what happens when I don't have enough opportunities. I crush it. I call everybody I know, and the month is ending, and I get there and I'm like, oh my God, I just had a killer month. And then the first of the month I have nobody to call because I've got no equity from the people I'm talking to.
I call it the snowball.
What's that?
I call it the snowball.
I like that. Tell us about that.
So the way I've always thought about insurance is the more people you talk to, it might not be right then and there on that call, but the more people you call, quote, talk to, eventually it'll collect into that snowball. So you want to talk to or do as many quotes or whatever it is to get into that snowball, because then at some point you just start getting calls from people you quoted months ago or years ago or whatever, and then they finally call you back.
I love that.
So
one other thing that you said that I said I would come back to, I'm going to come back to. We believe that we're not just insurance professionals or business builders or when we're here, right? When you're out in your networks, people know that you are in the insurance business, right? We believe that you want a business that you can take anywhere. That's something you said, right?
Yep.
Everywhere you go, people know what you do.
Yep.
To me, that is another subtlety that people miss.
Yep.
I think it is possible to struggle within your role when your identity is, okay, I'm at work, today I'm an insurance agent.
Yep.
The minute I leave, I forget the fact that everybody driving, every friend I have, every family member I have, how about every friend that they have, every family member that they have? We lose sight of the fact that our I've heard Brett talk about this before. Look to your east. Every roof that you see has insurance. We live in this scarce mindset. We live in this scarce reality that I'm at work, I'm in front of my computer, I'm an insurance agent. Versus what you said, and you said it so well, is wherever I go, people know what I do. I know that's how it is with us. I think that's rare for people to believe that strongly in what they do and the value that they provide, that they would want to share that with people when they're out and about. I respect that out of you. And that is a subtlety that is not something you force. Yep. You just like what you do. You're having fun.
Yep.
So one thing personally, I love to help people. That's just something that fills my cup. And insurance, I'm helping people get into their homes of their dreams, into the cars that they want to drive. Because sometimes when they're buying a car, they don't think about the insurance. They don't think about that stuff, where sometimes the insurance is more than the monthly amount. So then I have to do my part to find a way to get them into that vehicle or into that house. So it just fills my cup. People call me all the time like, thank you. I was able to get into this house because of you, because I was saving on the auto, the home, this and that. And, sometimes I save people a lot of money.
Yeah, man,
So it makes
Rod, I want to go back to what you said, and I also want to acknowledge, what do you mean by say less to more people? I mean, you're people's friend. I mean, bottom line, right? If you work with a mortgage person, they know G on the person just as much as they know G on the insurance agent. Sometimes it's not, you have to have it all figured out and have something fancy to say. It's just you do a really good job of staying in touch with people, staying in front of people, and just being a friendly guy.
That's right.
And, you talk about people know we do insurance. Yeah, like I don't go up to people at parties and be like, hey, bro, let me get your deck page because I think we could save you money.
That's
like
right.
I would never do that, right?
Yeah.
But I will tell you that they know that I do it. So when they have a need, I hope they think of me. And what ends up happening is they do. And there's a level of abundance that just comes from not being scared to that is what you do. And
I remember Rick Havron.
Yes.
Shout out to Rick Havron. One of the most respected people I know in our networks, built a huge insurance agency with his partners. He said something, he said it multiple times. I want people to know what they do, or I want people to know what I do, so that if they have a question or a need or whatever. But what I don't want is people to see me come in and run because they think I'm going to badger them about a deck page or about their insurance.
Totally.
Super. That is the tip of the sword to me. Yep. In posture, in class. And how about this one? Credibility, right? It's like the loudest person in the room is not the smartest or the toughest. You watch out for the one that's quiet that says, they know what I do. And if they need me, or if they have a need, I'll be glad to assert myself, but I'll know that I've got a slight invitation to.
And that belief, right? When you do get the opportunity, like, look, I believe we can help you. Let me crush this for you. Let me deliver.
Way different.
And one thing I do want to go back to, you said that so well about how, sometimes newer agents, or you may have even felt this when you were struggling to qualify or trying to get all in on this marketing aspect of it, is you mentioned why marketing. And you just articulated that how marketing changes your behavior as a sales professional and as influence better than I've ever heard. Meaning, if you don't have an abundance of opportunities, right, you are going to strangle them. You are going to be more desperate. You are going to say more to less people. You're going to do all these things that for the prospect and the customer come off the wrong way.
That's right.
And as human beings, we're energetic beings, and we can feel that. And it makes us uncomfortable.
It gives me goosebumps
It
to
makes
hear you say
your
this.
guard go up.
Yeah.
So a lot of this push on marketing for agents, there's a part of me that sometimes thinks agents think like, man, like why such a push on marketing? And what you just said is because marketing affects every single thing. And it's the leading indicator that if you can get enough opportunities, enough qualified opportunities, then you can have better sales, you can have better influence, and you can change your business. Because what's interesting, if we're talking data, and a reason this conversation came up is we look at the quarter and we're reflecting, and we're, without our bias, are looking for clues. Oh my gosh, what's going on? What's he doing? Okay, clearly Gian had a heck of a performance. Let's get with Gian. Let's talk to him. Let's figure out what he's doing. Let's look at the numbers. Is he working on more or less deals? Okay, he's working on more deals. Is his conversions higher or lower? They're lower. Okay? I say that because most people think, like, I have to get an opportunity and I have to convert it.
I love this.
And they get really proud. It's kind of like in the insurance industry. Yeah. People get super proud of their retention rate. And I think sales professionals get super proud of their conversion rate.
Yeah.
Although it's impressive, although it's something you should pay attention, although it's something you can improve upon, I do not believe it is the leading indicator of success.
Dude.
Because if you can get enough opportunities, you may not want every opportunity.
Yep.
That's right. You mentioned that.
Yep.
So
you want them if you need them, though.
You want them if you need them.
But if you have an abundance of them, then you wind up, instead of convincing, you wind up sorting.
Yeah. And guess what? No one wants to every single month be convincing people and selling. And Rod's always has this dream that I used to think outlandish that you're proving is not only possible, but exciting and will change the face of your business, our business, and anybody who buys into this mindset. Yep. We have a tiered comp plan, call it whatever you want, arbitrary numbers. He would always believe, hey, you should be in first tier by the middle of the month.
Yep.
If you can qualify first tier by the middle of the month, the rest is gravy, and you can not only hit the top tier of the comp plan, but the abundance of opportunities that come from that month that you don't close will flow into the next month, and you'll not only build the top tier of the comp plan, but the next month you talk about the snowball effect, and that starts happening. And so the clues that we're seeing from what you're doing and what we're learning from you and people like you is invaluable. Yep. But I just go back to what's the leading indicator, and the data would suggest that you're working on more deals.
Yep. I know a big part of that was I would, if you every day you ran 1 mile, it's going to become a little bit easier, and then you're going to do 2 miles. So, at first, not everybody can do 100 deals all at once, in 1 month. You have to build yourself up to that. Just like when you go to the gym, you're not automatically lifting 100 pounds. You have to work your way up there. So, that's been a big thing for me was I was pushing my limits to build more capacity for myself so I can do things quicker than a lot of other agents. I was also educating myself a lot on the market, so I'm a lot quicker with coming up with a quote because I've seen a lot more. I know where a lot of things go when I see it. So that's been a big thing for me too is,
you're extremely, one thing that I want to give you some recognition for, you are extremely valuable. We talk about individual achievement and collective success. I know you're all about individual achievement, but you are an absolute ambassador of collective success. Anytime you're sharing shortcuts, you're sharing cheat codes, you're sharing, valuable information, you're sending the team videos on, hey, here's how I'm, I commend you for that, man. You're after your business. You're building your business. And let's not be shy or apologize for the fact that
I want everybody to win, Rod.
I know
want
you do.
everybody around me, my referral partners, my teammates.
As do we, which is why I think there's a lot of synergies inside these walls with our team, between ourselves, and with our market. I mean, you can't compete against me if I want you to win too. Don't get me wrong, I love to compete. We all love to compete. We got a lot of sports backgrounds in here. Yeah. However, we can all win.
Yeah, but it's like, who are we competing against? I don't know about you, but I'm competing against me yesterday.
Same.
Right, me yesterday.
Yeah.
Because I got plenty of stuff to work out. The last time I thought about our competition was never.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm proud of that, because you talk about an abundance versus scarcity mindset. There's plenty to go around, and there's plenty I got to work on. Yep. So until I get that right, I don't think I should be worried about what other people are doing.
I made a note. I made a note to this, Tay. You gifted me a book, The 4 Obsessions of an Extraordinary Executive. First thing they're talking about is the fable of the two companies, and how one company is just crushing it, the other company is struggling, but on paper they look just like the other company. But they spend all their time trying to figure out what this company's doing. This company doesn't even know this company, right? Company A is just doing it, and they're crushing it. Company B, that looks very similar, is studying Company A and not having the success that Company A is having. There is so much to that. That's a great reminder.
You could make that analogy from producer A to producer B, or relationship manager A to relationship neighbor A to neighbor B, right? So, you got to run your own race, and you run it to win, the Bible says. But at the end of the day, you got to pay less attention to what's going on over here, because there's plenty of distractions to get involved with. I can tell you that in my own life. It sounds like one thing I pick up from this conversation is kill the distractions that don't align with your goals. Yep. That was the first order of business for you. That's what I heard.
Yep.
Yes.
I heard I had to take inventory of what I had going on, not only at work, but personally. I had to figure out where I was spending my time. I had to figure out what my goals are. And then I had to figure out, is where I'm spending my time aligned with my goals? Yep. And if not, kill them. Yep. If not, put them aside for the future. Yep. And then once I can limit the distractions, now I can focus. Now I can focus on the activities. Now I can focus on the ask and my process. And then it leads to banner quarters, banner years, banner months.
You are a pleasure, man. I commend you. I'm so glad you're back on this team. I think about the example. I think about your pursuit. You've shared a lot of personal stuff with me about your pursuit, and I'm fired up. I'm fired up to hear it. Fired up to see it.
Hey, and guess what? Hopefully we're having this conversation a year from now, and we're laughing at how bad these numbers are, right? Because that'll be fun for you to continue on your journey. Thanks so much for joining us, man. Absolutely. We're better for it, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, G.